Balake, where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here, everyone. It took me a long time today to get my butt in gear and actually do a video. It's almost 7:30 in the evening. I don't know how that happened. But we have an important subject to talk about, and it answers some questions that I've kind of been speculating about this past week, which is, why is it that Ashton Kutcher cannot just do what seems to be the easiest, most straightforward thing that would probably put all of the drama and the outrage and the backlash to rest, and just say, Jen, Nisha, Chrissy, I'm terribly sorry for the pain my letter caused you, and finish up that apology however he saw fit? The answer is Ashton Kutcher hates the Jane Does in the Danny Masterson case. And this was brought to my attention by one of the Jane Does yesterday. And the explanation for why does he hate these women is that these women seeking justice against Danny Masterson has cost Ashton and Mila north of $40 million. And that has to do with the exclusive streaming rights of that 70s show, which was not picked up by Netflix, as every one of those cast members, including Danny Masterson, was very much counting on. Not only did the exclusive streaming rights not get picked up, which were supposed to be somewhere on the order of $20 million per cast member for the lifetime of whatever the deal was. Not only were the exclusive streaming rights not picked up, but realize Ashton Kutcher was also executive producer on the Netflix show The Ranch, which also starred Danny Masterson. And Ashton was forced to fire Danny from that show after, the investigation proceeded. I can't remember if he was fired once the indictment was announced, or I'm fuzzy on all the dates. It's hard for me to keep the chronology of all that in crystal clear in my mind. But not only was Ashton forced to fire Danny from that show, but that show was then canceled shortly thereafter. It gets a little worse. Ashton, as executive producer on The Ranch, was directly responsible for squashing and silencing complaints about Danny Masterson's behavior under the guise of conducting an internal investigation. But the professional that all complaints about Danny were referred to in that investigation were none other than Danny Masterson's own civil attorney. And you might go, well, that's appropriate because there's a civil lawsuit against him. There was no civil lawsuit at this time. There was no lawsuit whatsoever. Remember, the lawsuit against Danny Masterson by the Jane Does is not for the attacks. It's for the harassment that they've been subjected to by Scientology agents and Danny Masterson's peoples since coming forward. That lawsuit has nothing to do with the attacks themselves. And that lawsuit wasn't filed until much later. And by the way, my understanding is that Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2, since the jury unanimously convicted Danny of the charges against Jane Doe 1 and Jane Doe 2, have like 12 months or 18 months to file a civil suit against Danny for the attacks themselves. And I predict you're not going to see any such lawsuit, because what's the point? This whole thing was not about money. This thing was about justice. And so let me share with you some headlines that kind of touch on what I'm talking about here. So this is by Yashar Ali. He's been doing an incredible job reporting not just on the Danny Masterson stuff, but a lot of other Scientology stuff as well on his own Substack. If you Google Yashar Ali Substack, you can find that. Netflix takes no action against Danny Masterson despite multiple rape accusations. This was from back in November 2017. And this is a little bit of a precursor for what is to come. So one day after HuffPo revealed that Danny Masterson is the subject of a criminal investigation into allegations of rape by 4 women, Netflix, which produces and airs the program he co-stars on, The Ranch, has told HuffPo it isn't taking any action against him. We're aware of the allegations and the subsequent investigation and will respond if developments occur. And it goes on to give a little bit more detail here. Now, what happened is that a production assistant who had worked on the ranch and had worked on that 70s show, I believe, and had actually been a friend of Danny's, read these reports. There was this article and an article by Yashar from just the day prior. And he said, oh, they're actually conducting an investigation. I have information to provide that I think would help in the investigation. Now, the information he was going to provide was information that would go against Danny, not exonerate Danny. And this production assistant here, I'll pull it up because the exact story was detailed on the Underground Bunker blog. Okay, so it says that morning, a former production assistant on the show, Nick, and I'm going to butcher this name, but Olszewski is what we're going with. Nick Olszewski emailed his former boss, the ranch producer, Melanie Patterson. So guys, Melanie Patterson was a producer on the show under Ashton, who was exec producer or one of the exec producers. Okay. Nick said, I have information relative to Danny Masterson's case. I just want to know what I should do. It explains a bit of Nick's background there, a bit of Melanie's background, how Melanie got Nick hired. Okay. Oh, fast forward. Okay. The thing I'm fast forwarding through is basically the details that Nick had to offer, that he wanted to offer to the investigation, but that's not actually the point of my video. So I'm just forwarding through that. He decided he had to tell someone something. So he reached out to Melanie Patterson, his former boss on the show, on the morning of November 3rd. Later that afternoon, Nick heard back from Melanie Patterson as well as Danny Masterson. So in other words, guys, okay. So the producer on the show, a production that is apparently going to investigate as things come up. When the producer hears that someone has valuable information, she immediately goes and tells Danny Masterson. Okay. So there you go. And it gets better. So that's right. Judging by what Melanie and Danny texted Nick, they both assumed that Nick was contacting them because he had information that would help out Danny. They apparently had no idea that the opposite was the case, and Nick believed he had damning information about Danny. So this is the actual screenshot of the text messages, which is pretty remarkable. Yo, my bro, just finished run through. Mel told me earlier you hit her up with info to help me out with this bullshit I'm dealing with. What you got? And there's the actual freaking text message from Danny to Nick. Just remarkable. Nick also heard from Melanie Patterson, who told him that he would be contacted by someone doing an investigation. And I guess no screenshot of this one. Hi, thanks so much for touching base. Our guy who's gathering information is going to reach out to you. His name is Andrew. That's what Melanie Patterson sent to him in an email. And that same day, Nick did receive a text from a telephone number he did not recognize. And it said, Nick, it's Andrew. Heard you have info to share regarding Masterson. Please give me a call or a text back. Thanks. But Nick said he wasn't about to say anything sensitive to someone he didn't know. Quote, I'm not stupid. I seriously had concerns after what I'd read about the rape allegations, and I'm not going to talk to just anybody. And then a short conversation ensued with Andrew that didn't go very far. So Nick says to the guy, what's your last name and job title? I would only discuss this in person with a third party present. And then the so-called Andrew says, discuss what? Masterson. Andrew, I'm not following. Do you have info to help Masterson? Nick says, last name and job title, please. Andrew says, sounds like you don't have any info at all. Why the games? The need for a third party? What's this about? And then Nick looks up the phone number and finds out that Andrew is Andrew Bretler, an attorney who worked for Marty Singer, the legendary Hollywood entertainment lawyer who had represented Masterson for years. Marty Singer is the lawyer that Scientology had represent Danny to navigate the confidential settlement and non-disclosure agreement between Danny and Jane Doe 1, when Jen was still in Scientology. Marty Singer is the one who was involved in all of that. And so when the executive producers of The Ranch, and this is where I want to make sure I'm being accurate, because Ashton is an executive producer of The Ranch. He's not a Netflix executive. Melanie Patterson is a producer of The Ranch. She's not a Netflix executive. But, and I think Netflix is the one, if we go back to this earlier article from Yashar, let me just see. This quote here says, "We are aware of the allegations and the subsequent investigation and will respond if developments occur," a Netflix spokesman said in a statement emailed to HuffPo. See, this is interesting because, as I'm not a Hollywood industry person, I don't really know, like, I want to say the command channels. Like, so Netflix is telling Huffington Post, we will respond if developments occur. So, like, where's the oversight? Like if someone comes forward with information, how's Netflix supposed to even know that someone's coming forward with information to the Ranch executive producers if the Ranch executive producers are working to contain those reports and squash them and prevent them from ever seeing the light of day? Do you see who's running the investigation? It doesn't seem like Netflix was doing any investigation at all. The exec producers and the producers of The Ranch were apparently handling the investigation, and they were all working to protect Danny. Someone comes forward with information, they immediately tell Danny and Danny's attorney. There's no independent corporate attorney. There's no HR investigation. There's no, what do they call it? There's no special prosecutor. HR isn't outsourcing the investigation to an independent third party. They're literally funneling all information directly to Danny Masterson personally and Danny Masterson's attorney. This, to me, is all the evidence anybody would need to go. Everyone over there at the ranch, from Ashton Kutcher on down, was in 100% protect our asses mode. Find everything that's out there, figure out how to squash it. Let someone comes up with some complaints, make them think that they're making the report to the right person, and then have them just wonder why nothing ever came of it. So it just doesn't seem like anyone over at either the ranch or Netflix was actually taking this seriously. And we have further evidence of that. I don't have the actual article in front of me, but it's been reported, and I might do another video about it later, that this is such a small world type story, guys. Jane Doe 1, her husband just happened to coach a soccer team in this league where I guess all of these industry muckety mucks coach soccer. And one of these Netflix executives was another coach of like the other team. And this Netflix executive's wife was like an executive at Disney. And Jane Doe 1 just happened to like, all this news was breaking about, whether Danny was going to be fired from the ranch, whether the ranch was going to be canceled, or whether Netflix was doing anything about it. And at one of these soccer games where Jane Doe 1's husband was coaching, and the Netflix executive, who I think his name was Andy, but without it in front of me, I don't want to get it wrong, was also coaching. And she walked up to him and asked him, "Hey, what's up with the thing on the ranch? How come that thing hasn't been canceled yet when all these other shows were canceled because of this and that, but the ranch hasn't been canceled?" And the Netflix exec said to Jane Doe 1, "You want to know the real reason? We don't believe the women." And he laughed. And she goes, "I'm one of those women." And at that moment, his butthole went puckered right up. And That's just another anecdote. And that guy ended up getting fired. Particularly because that guy's wife, the Disney exec, then sent a bunch of hate-filled emails to Jane Doe 1's husband to him talking shit about his wife, Jane Doe 1. And people wonder why nothing gets done behind the scenes. Because these guys couldn't possibly care less. Imagine you're a Netflix executive. What information do you have that would make you go, we don't believe the women? What? The evidence in this case was pretty astounding. So for an executive at Netflix to say something like that is like, you didn't want to believe the women. You didn't want to. It wasn't in your financial interests to believe those women. And guys, this all comes back to, why won't Ashton Kutcher just say, Jen, Nisha, Chrissy, I am so sorry. I'm embarrassed. I'm humiliated. It was the wrong thing to do. Major apologies. And honestly, why? Like, he stepped down from his nonprofit yesterday. He stepped down from Thorn. Some people have told me he probably had no choice. They're probably like, you resign or we're letting you go. But the truth is, I'm looking at it from a slightly different way. If he was truly honest to God sorry and wanted to make it right, because the truth is, the jury is out, but I would say Thorn probably is capable, does good work, is capable of doing good work. Like, Thorn has a good reputation. I mean, does it not? I don't want to speak out of turn. But like, if Thorn is a very valuable entity, if it's got a good mission and it's accomplishing its purpose, and if Ashton's involvement allows that to occur and enables that and forwards that mission, he could do a full 180. I'm so sorry. I'm going to redouble my efforts to help Thorn accomplish its purpose. I'm going to work twice as hard. We're going to be twice as effective. Like, anyway, I'm armchair quarterbacking, Ashton's entire life, and it's not exactly fair. But my point is, this speculation and discussion has been around. Why not just do what seems to be the easy thing to do and make a sincere, genuine apology? Stop apologizing to all victims everywhere and apologize to the women who were specifically hurt by the letter that you wrote. The answer is, Ashton Kutcher absolutely hates these women. They've cost him a fortune, him and his wife. And he has been actively trying to shut them up and stymie the investigation and keep information siloed away from the people who should have it for years and years. And I think he hates them so much, he can't bring himself to do them the honor of saying their names. That's what I believe to be true at this point. That's where I'm at on it. I'm sure there's many opinions out there, and mine is only mine, but that's where I'm at on this right now. It makes sense to me. And the people that I've spoken with tend to feel that is the case. There's another thing here that's worth discussing, which is Ashton's own lifestyle and complicity in the kind of stuff that Danny Masterson has done. Ashton's a party boy. He's a party animal. As was Danny, which is weird considering all the letters everyone wrote being like, he hates drugs. Danny doesn't want to have anything to do with drugs. I guess alcohol's not a drug. When you party that much and party that hard with all sorts of substances, I feel like, and I've never really had the opportunity to do that, guys. I grew up in a cult, okay? I've lived a pretty tame life. But I try to put myself into the shoes of someone who lives like that for years and years and years and years and years. And I feel like a question does come up. Just how conscious does someone need to be before consent doesn't exist? Don't you feel like that's something that would come up an awful lot in the lives of Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher? How much alcohol does someone need to consume before consent disappears? How conscious, how awake does someone really need to be? how aware of what's going on around one does someone need to be before consent exists? And also, I spoke to someone today who was very close with Danny for a long time. And they said to me that part of Danny's outlook on, let's just say, sexual relationships is that if someone wants to sleep with you anyway, that you can pretty much do whatever you want and it's under the umbrella of consent. That's a scary thing to consider. That's a pretty scary thing to consider. So if you're a girl who comes over to Danny Masterson's house for a party or a date, and in Danny's mind, you're consenting, you'd consent anyway, wouldn't you? Then what does it really matter if he drugs you and has his way with you? Because you were going to consent anyway. This is a terrifying thing to consider. And yet this is exactly what someone told me today who was close with Danny for many, many years. That he just sort of has that, well, I mean, they would have wanted to sleep with me anyway. So what does it matter? And when I started to think about the ramifications of thinking that way, I go, my God, is it possible that Danny doesn't even actually think he raped these women? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and I'm not trying to give him that benefit of the doubt. But that's what I mean when I say it's pretty scary when you consider what that might mean if he actually thinks that way. And I obviously can't speak for Ashton, but if I think Ashton was more of a party boy than Danny was. And it's like, once you get alcohol and substances involved, doesn't that question come up immediately? How conscious does someone really need to be? And if someone like an Ashton and a Danny was like, well, of course they would have consented anyway. That's why they showed up. Do you see where I'm going with this? It gets pretty dark. It gets pretty dark. And I'm seeing a comment there in the live chat that Danny thought he was above the law. To me, this is another aspect of that. I've said before, and other people have commented in the chat, that one of the reasons it's just so sick and that it's obvious that there's something wrong with Danny, like he's a sick person, there's something wrong with him, is that by any normal stereotypical standards, he should have been pretty easy for Danny to get whoever he wanted, really. And yet there was still something going on in his head that was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to drug this woman. Like it's sick. And if he's like, and it's totally okay because she would have consented anyway. I don't know, guys. I know we're deep into speculation territory here. But for me, it does sort of somewhat satisfy this craving to understand how someone can justify that stuff to themselves. The question always comes up, does Danny's family really think he's innocent? How is that even possible? And I've talked myself in circles on how it's not possible because of the settlement that occurred between Jane Doe 1 and Danny when they were both still Scientologists, and all the Scientology interrogations that Danny was subjected to and Jane Doe 1 was subjected to and Luke Watson was subjected to, and everybody knew exactly what was done. And Danny basically admitted to everything Jane Doe 1 was accusing him of. He just didn't think it was rape. I want to repeat that for those of you who may not have seen the earlier videos. When Jane Doe 1 was still in Scientology and Danny Masterson was still in Scientology and Jane Doe 1 was demanding Scientology justice, Danny admitted to doing everything Jane Doe 1 accused him of. He just didn't think that those things equaled rape. And you kind of go like, okay, but is Danny just playing games by refusing to admit that that's what it is? Or is there any version of reality in which he truly believes that? And I guess I just have a constant craving to kind of understand how the pieces could possibly fit together inside Danny's head. And I don't know if this is the right answer, but I feel like the piece fit in very nicely this morning when I was like, oh my God, it would be so sick if that's how the pieces fit together. But that is one way the pieces could fit together. And he's like, if they would have consented anyway, then it's all the same, isn't it? Anyway, guys, it's really, really sick. But I think that's why I think everything we've discussed so far in the last 24 minutes is why Ashton will not say, I'm sorry, Jen. I'm sorry, Nisha. I'm sorry, Chrissy. He fucking hates these women. And that's why. All right. Let's zip through these super chats and then we'll wrap it up. Madix, I work for high up Scientologists. Will I be okay? I guess it depends on what you're doing, Matix. Telperion. How about an SP bar? Who proves SP gets a drink for putting the evidence on the wall? Specials. The Hubbard, a glass of salt water for $100. The Miscavige, a shot of Kleiner Fiegling, schnapps that translates to little coward. I have always thought that it would be amazing to open a bar and call it the Org and have all the drinks on the menu be different the names of different auditing actions. Like I'll take an L10 and a life repair and a grade 2 quad. I mean, the jokes would only be funny to former Scientologists, but I thought, man, if there were such a bar, we'd be like, honey, I'm going to the Org this evening. I mean, it might be triggering for a lot of former Scientologists, but for me, it would be absolutely amazing. Maria de Jesus Gutierrez. Danny is responsible for Danny's crimes. Danny cost his coworkers all of that. Ashton can go F himself if he's still so blind he can't understand what disgraceful behavior this all is. Gracias, Maria. Triage. No. Teresa. Ashton needs a therapist to deal with his feelings about the rapist he has for a friend. It's Danny's fault he's losing money, not the victims. I agree with you. My year in books. Thank you very much. Beck, 200,000 subscribers. Congrats, AA Run. Well, thank you to all of you who have subscribed over the last month. And honestly, all of you who subscribed over the last 7 or 8 years. I never thought I could break 100, never mind 200. So we'll see, guys. It's been amazing. It's been really amazing. And I thank all of you. KC Cat, congrats on hitting 200,000 subs, Aaron. Thank you. Dave Owens, a bunch of bros drinking, women, dude. Yeah. Thomas Killingsmith, thank you very much. Eat More Pizza Now. Great job on hitting 200,000 subscribers. I just donated $100 to the Aftermath Foundation. Hi, Goldie. Well, thank you so much, Eat More Pizza. We're going to do an official celebration and talking about some of the other fair gaming that Scientology's been up to, trying to take out the Aftermath Foundation. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a live stream on my channel, Mark and Claire's channel, Matt and Amy's channel, and Mike and Christy's channel. And it'll all be a fundraiser for the Aftermath Foundation. So thank you, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Bradley 605. I can't wait for the Oprah Winfrey special featuring Mila and Ashton on their apology tour. Yeah, you're probably not far off there. Brenda Martin, for Goldie's Coffee Fund. Danny Masterson, Ashton, and Mila are pieces of hooah. I have absolutely no sympathy for them. Karma is coming to them. Yes, guys, people send me super chats all the time for Goldie. Goldie actually finally has her own Buy Me a Coffee thing, and I'm going to put that in the description down below. I do send all that super chat stuff off to Goldie about once a month, but now that for those of you who want to send her stuff, there's a link you can do that directly to her. So thank you, Brenda. DDT Shoots. Seems like every new SPTV post rolls out another Scientology adjacent dumpster. You and the whole SP team rock. Thank you so much, DDT Shoots. Super Queen, thank you very much. You woo, I say mommy issues for both of them. All right. Telperion is back. There are cases that are gray areas, and it might not be 100% determinable if something was rape, but if you drug them, there's no gray area there. Hey, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Prince Muskie, so shocked you run Eminem's record label Aftermath. I don't know what that means. Is Aftermath the name of Eminem's record label? That's what it sounds like. Nuala, keep telling all their secrets. Love from Ireland. Thank you so much. Diana B, the Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher bet on Mila Kunis shared on the talk show said it all. Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Lori Lumby, Dana can be against doing drugs and be perfectly okay with drugging women. Yep, that's what it seems. Moni69, to buy our gorgeous Goldie a coffee, please, Aaron, she is an angel. Yes, I'll post the link to the Buy Me a Coffee in the description down below for Goldie. Abigail S., I suggested on Zach's live stream last night for him to drop in tomorrow, and he said he only would if invited. Well, the live stream tomorrow is probably just going to be on the channels of the Aftermath Foundation board members. But I'll tell you what. So how it works is we create the live stream event, and then we link to an existing fundraiser. So the truth is, any channel at all, SPTV or not SPTV, literally anyone's channel. If to host a fundraiser on YouTube, you have to have at least 10,000 subscribers. So if you have over 10,000 subs and you schedule a video or a live stream, you can link that video into the exact same fundraiser that's been created for our live stream. And so anyway, anyone who's interested in that, if they have any questions about it, I can help explain. All right, let's see. Gene Strong, did L. Ron Hubbard ever write policy about SA? Specifically, no, is my simple answer. Wendy Ann, please get good rests. Don't burn out. We need you guys. I've actually been getting a lot of good sleep the last few nights. So thank you. Thank you very much. Red Tar for me. Love from Idaho. Danny chose his fate. Thank you. Gold Rush. Who is Goldie? Goldie is my moderator on this channel. She's a moderator on a whole bunch of the other SPTV channels, and she is the hardest working moderator in the biz. I don't know how she does it, but she's always there, and she's on top of it, and she does a great job. So that's all I got on this for now, guys. Guys, if you're one of the 7,000 people watching live, do me a favor. Hit that like button, please. I would consider it a big favor. It does actually help, believe it or not. It's not just an ego thing. It has to do with YouTube's engagement metrics. So if you're watching, click that little button. And while you're down there, you might want to make sure you're subscribed. A lot of people across all of the YouTube channels are being automatically unsubscribed from various channels for some reason, and nobody really seems to understand what's going on, but so many channels are mentioning it. So if you think you're subscribed, just double check. And if you're not, hit that button. All right, everyone, thank you for hanging out with me this evening. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,